Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. And I'm going to start it off in Isaiah chapter 13, verse 19. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And when we get that word Babylon in the Strongs, it's H894, Babal. And in the outline of biblical usage, it says Babal or Babylon, confusion by mixing. And this isn't talking about the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire. This is talking about Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots, Babylon the Great, in Revelation chapter 17, which is the United States of America. And what's one thing America is known as? The great melting pot, where many different peoples from many different walks of lives, religions, etc., can come here and so-called live together in harmony and peace, which we clearly see isn't the case. America, especially now, is a chaotic country, and it's about to go out chaotically as well. Because what did it say? And Babylon, America, the glory of kingdoms, that city whose streets were paved with gold, the American dream, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And if you know anything about the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire, it wasn't burnt down to the ground. It was a surgical strike by Darius the Mede, who took out the leadership on behalf of Cyrus the Great, the first emperor of the Medo-Persian Empire. Verse 20, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. And this is another context clue to let you know this isn't talking about ancient Babylon, which is in modern day Iraq, because people are still dwelling there to this day. When this Babylon is destroyed, it's going to become an uninhabitable desert wasteland, where after a time, only harsh desert creatures are going to dwell here, as it's about to say. But the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And we can clearly see great collapse and great chaos is coming to America, economically, morally, militarily, etc. And the final nail in the coffin is going to be when nuclear missiles hit this place and turn it into the biblical lake of fire. Because as it said, it shall be overthrown as ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was. And Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed with fire and brimstone from the sky. This time by modern fire and brimstone. Again, those nuclear missiles. And you can link this up with Revelation 11 verse 8, which we're going to get in a few. Because another name for America in the scriptures besides Babylon the Great is spiritual Egypt, as well as spiritual Sodom, which is going to be what I'm going to be focusing on in this lesson. This is an article from the peoplesvoice.tv. Over 3 million Americans now identify as transformers. Nearly 3 million Americans, over 1% of the U.S. population, now identify as transformers, marking a dramatic surge in self-reported gender identities that has reshaped societal norms and sparked intense cultural debates. Straight to the point, America is known as a spiritual Sodom, among other things, because this is the #1 nation that heavily pushes that lifestyle on its own populace and onto the rest of the world as well through its social media, its socioeconomics, and its geopolitics. And it's not just transformerism, it's Moism, it's any of those wicked lifestyles that Sodom and Gomorrah was known for, and what Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed for. So this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah is going to go down the same path and receive the same judgment. According to the new research from the Williams Institute, a staggering 76% of those identifying as Decepticons, totaling 2.8 million individuals, are under the age of 35, with a particular concerning concentration among the youngest demographics. 25% fall between the age of 13 and 17, amounting to 724,000 teenagers navigating this identity amid growing scrutiny over influences like social media, education, and healthcare access. And me growing up, I'm a millennial. We used to we used to make fun of kids that were effeminate like that, and this shit damn sure wasn't common like it was now. Now being older and having nieces and nephews and stuff like that, it's damn near like every one of them's either they definitely cool with it, or they either fully with it, or they're bi-curious. So you're just going to tell me within the last 10 years there's just been this whole explosion of people just identifying this way? No, it's a whole host of factors that the devil S0d0m has used to get people in this spirit, through witchcraft, with social media, through stuff in the food, the water, the air, these plastics, these medicinal things, etc., etc. Which brings me to Nahum chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. And, it says, Nineveh's complete ruin, which Nineveh, was the capital of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. But right here, just as Isaiah 13 isn't talking about ancient Babylon, this is talking about, America as well, because besides, being Babylon the Great, spiritual Sodom and Egypt, America is also, linked to spiritual Assyria as well in the scriptures. Woe to the bloody city! It is full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. And it's clear to see through our politicians that this place is full of lies. Especially with DJ Donald Trump. He'll say one thing, 1 hour, and then the next hour something completely different. And not just with these so-called Republicans, but with these Democrats as well, because they're all just puppets of the elites. They tell you people what you want to hear, so they can get those votes. And then when they get selected in the office, it's business as usual. And robbery, how was America gotten? Through grape, robbery, and murder. This entire landmass was stolen from the so-called Native Americans, or the Gadites and Reubenites of the northern kingdom of the tribes of Israel. And then of course you got Central and South America and Canada, where other of the northern kingdom were dwelling, which you Edomites robbed by force. But now I'm gonna jump down to verse 4. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot. And we can link this with Revelation 17 when it talks about Babylon the Great. Because what does it call her? The mother of harlots. Because what? Everybody, speaking symbolically, all these nations are in bed with America. What? Using that US dollar, taking aspects of democracy and capitalism, feminism, and, the alphabet lifestyle into their countries, etc., etc. Hey, they got a, what's that saying? I can't remember, but, in order to, to be making that money like that right now, what? You got to deal with America. because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. And this whole alphabet lifestyle is a major enchantment, a major witchcraft that America has, again, not only sold unto her own people, social media, Hollywood, and, the food and medicinal things out here, but also pushed it onto the rest of the world. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts, behold, I am against thee, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame, which is what we're seeing right now, first and foremost with the men of the Lord, chiefly of GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers coming in the spirit of GMS, going out onto the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this, going into the scriptures and exposing you devils, you Edomites, or so-called white people, for the wicked that you are, and showing you that America is in the scriptures, and the wickedness, it's pushed, and the judgment it's going to receive for it. Which again, as we read in Isaiah chapter 13, what would that judgment be? The same thing that happened to Sodom and Gomorrah, being burnt into nothingness by fire. And it further elaborates it in 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 2. I'm going to read verses 8 to 9, which, we can further link, Assyria to America in that judgment in Isaiah 13. Woe or destruction be unto thee, Ashur, which is Assyria, thou that hidest the unrighteous in thee, such as these Decepticons. O thou wicked people, remember what I did unto Sodom and Gomorrah, burnt with fire and brimstone, whose land lieth in clods of pitch and heaps of ashes. Even so also will I do unto them that hear me not, saith the Almighty Yahweh. And when Esdras, was prophesying and wrote these books, he was in the Medo-Persian Empire, which the Assyrian Empire had long since vanished since then. So we know this isn't talking about ancient Assyria, which, ancient Assyria wasn't destroyed and burnt down to the ground like that. It was simply taken over by the Neo-Babylonians, under Nebuchadnezzar. And even then, when we go to Assyria today, it's in that same region around, Iraq, in the Middle East, which clearly is still inhabited. According to new research from the Williams Institute, a staggering 76% of those identifying as Decepticons, totaling 2.8 million individuals, are under the age of 35, with a particularly concerning concentration among the youngest demographics. 25% fall between the ages of 13 and 17, amounting to 724,000 teenagers navigating this identity amid growing scrutiny over influences like social media, education, and healthcare access. The witchcrafts of the well-favored harlot that she's pushed upon the families of the earth. And, I believe it was Hitler that said it, give me the minds of the youth and I've got the future. And, I can't remember who else said another quote where they're like, it only takes one generation to completely change, the opinions and the trajectory of a society. Infowars.com reports, the report states that the racial composition of transformerism closely mirrors the racial composition of the U.S. Roughly a third of individuals who identify as Decepticons identify as women, a third as men, and a third as non-binary. The Williams Institute has produced reports on Decepticonism in the US since 2022. In that year, it estimated the number to be 1.6 million, meaning the number has increased by around 75% in just 3 years. Researchers base their findings on survey data from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention's Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System and Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System, and created statistical models. Younger generations are more likely to identify as Decepticons, and we expect that trend to continue, said lead author of the report, S0d0m, in a statement. Youth and adults are more likely to identify as Decepticons due to a variety of factors, including a greater willingness among younger individuals to disclose that they identify as Decepticons on surveys. But hey, America doesn't have much longer for, multiple generations to continue in this way. Remember what we read in Isaiah chapter 13. For her days shall no longer be prolonged, and her time of judgment is near to come. But I'm going to close it out in Revelation 11, verse 8. And, a lot of our people, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, especially you so-called Negroes of the Southern Kingdom, are, heavily into this lifestyle and heavily supported. And, it's been heavily pushed upon our people because Esau knows who we are. And he knows that by taking us away from our power, that gives him dominion over us and to do whatever he wants to do. But, there is that remnant, that elect number that hasn't given in to the ways of the wicked. And, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai is going to save his elect. But, for 2/3 of our people in America that want to continue in these sodomitish lifestyles with these heathens, hey, you're going to go down with it when it takes part in that same judgment as Sodom and Gomorrah. But this is Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. And this is speaking of the spiritually dead bodies of you Israelites. While you do have that remnant waking up, and then you have wicked Israelites that identify as Israelites waking up. For the majority of our people, whether they've heard the word or not, they still want to continue to be, black, African American, Mexican, Latino, a Catholic, a Muslim, a Buddhist, American, Republican, Democrat, anything you can think of, except who they truly are, the children of Israel. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually, not physically, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And our Lord was crucified spiritually here. His name was crucified. The true name of the Messiah, the Son of the Most High, is Yahweh Shai. But what do they call him? Jesus. And you can read in Revelation chapter 1, around verse 14, what his true image is. A so-called dark-skinned Negro with a white woolly beard and afro. But what do they put to you as? A leprous Edomite white man with long, brown and blonde hair and a beard, looking like a Bon Jovi, or some Edomite you'd see down here in New Orleans in a place called the Bywater, where all these ghouls and goblins stay at. Actually, I'll close it out and let me find it. Might be in chapter 1. Here it is, Isaiah chapter 1, verse 9. Except Yahweh of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant. Hey, the elect is a small number. Many more you Israelites are going to be destroyed than being saved. We should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Hey, our entire nation cut off. But what? It's likening, the wicked of our people under Sodom and Gomorrah. Because like I just said, you got a lot of our people into this lifestyle. They're a part of that unrighteous, that spiritual Assyria America has hid in her. And because of that, what? This place is going to be burnt to a crisp by those nuclear missiles and lie desolate and uninhabited for the rest of eternity. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere, Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.